America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
And I get the feeling you've been cheated.
It is Tuesday, September 26, 2023. My name is Sam Seder. This is the five-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Joe Biden heads to a UAW picket line, the first time a president in the history of this country will have ever done anything like this during a strike. Meanwhile, Donald Trump tomorrow heading to a Michigan anti-union event. And apparently, the media cannot tell the difference. Also on the program today, Supreme Court rejects Alabama's bid to deny black people proper representation. Imagine that. Senate throws Kevin McCarthy a government shutdown bone. But unfortunately for Kevin McCarthy, he can do nothing but choke on it. Menendez refuses to resign. And now the question remains, what will Chuck Schumer do? As the never-will-be's assemble for a Republican debate at Reagan's shrine tomorrow, things are going to be a little bit less exciting because someone won't be there.
A little more exciting, though.
I'm talking about Asa Hutchinson.
Oh, yeah, a little more. I stepped on your joke.
Yes, you did.
I'm sorry.
Yes, you did.
I meant more exciting because we'll be covering it, though.
We will be covering it, indeed, despite the fact that Asa Hutchinson will not be in attendance.
My heart sank.
Yes, he did not make the cut, ladies and gentlemen, so...
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Sam.
Yeah, that's all right. Got to trust the process. The number 2 on the Durham investigation of the investigators reveals that she quit because Bill Barr was using the investigation to get Trump reelected. Who could have imagined?
Freedom fighter Bill
Can't
Barr.
trust Bill Barr.
North Carolina Republicans pass a power grab to control future elections. And the Antarctica breaks a record for the lowest maximum amount of sea ice it has ever had. In other words, February is the low ebb. September's the high ebb, the high point, if you will, of ice. And that high point is lower than it's ever been. Speaking of climate change, drought in Midwest is adding to a building water crisis in New Orleans as salt water may destroy the city's water infrastructure. Student loan repayments are due to ramp up in October, and it turns out it will probably be even more of a crap show because of the government shutdown. Meanwhile, WGA about to seek consent from its membership and various leadership structures to sign a contract as SAG members authorize a video game strike. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. It is Newsday Tuesday, as Emma Vigland would say. Surprisingly,
if I were allowed to speak.
Well, I mean, apparently you didn't jump in there, and I thought that's what you were going to do.
Damn, did I ruin our whole energy today?
That's what I thought was
by messing with you.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
It was an accident.
Look at this. Yeah, my camera, my framing is off.
I was too excited to plug our stuff. You know, that's what I thought I was doing there.
Yep, there you go. Yom Kippur. Damn, Sam, you still fasted? Left is best. I don't know what still fasted means, but I did fast yesterday. I ended the fast at sundown, but yesterday was rough.
It's fun to start that with damn. Like, what does that mean? Damn, Sam, you still fast?
I mean, the Jews don't care about that type of stuff.
The worst part you were saying was your coffee headache.
The worst part was my coffee headache. Around 2 p.m., I was about to I couldn't see straight. It was rough, but I made it, and I fasted, and there you go.
Perfect.
Yep. The worst part was right as my coffee headache was peaking, Saul was like, "Can you make me a sandwich?" Because he doesn't fast.
Tasks on coffee headaches. Worse.
Making a sandwich when you haven't eaten for 20 hours is not fun. And then he didn't eat it. He just left it standing there on the counter.
Taunting you.
And exactly. All right, let's get into this, folks. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to carry live when Biden hits the picket line. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. But we're going to talk also about how it's being covered in the media, and it's fascinating.
It is a big deal because it's now been confirmed. It was people were asking historians and they weren't sure. But first time sitting U.S. president has joined the picket line.
First time that this has happened. And, Barack Obama promised he would put in his walking shoes on and get out there. And it turns out he couldn't find them.
Yeah.
Still trying them on.
Biden's got the pair.
Let's start, though, with this. I am, as everyone knows, I'm very old. And I remember all the way back almost 4 years ago when Al Franken was accused at first by a right-wing radio show host and there was a picture. He clearly did this, and he admitted it, that on a USO tour, he posed for a picture as if he was going to grab this woman's breasts while she was sleeping. People can make their own assessments as to how inappropriate or appropriate it is based upon their, performing relationship and whatnot. Not a great idea. But of course, he did this before he was a senator, back when he was a comedian, just doing USO, shows. And there were other women who had claimed that at various times he had grabbed their butt when taking a picture or something like that. But nevertheless, there was going to be an ethics hearing in the Senate. And according to Jane Mayer, reporting there, Chuck Schumer basically threatened Al Franken, if you stay on to the ethics hearing, we will strip you of your committeeships. We will do everything we can to make this an extremely hostile place for you. And I think combined with that and the fact that Franken didn't want to hurt Doug Jones's chances of winning in the 2018 election against Roy Moore in Alabama, which would have given the Democrats I think a majority in the Senate, or at least tied it. I'm not quite. I can't remember, but it was a key Senate race. Franken resigned. Folks can be of different minds as to whether Schumer should have done that or not. But if Schumer's going to do it in that instance, when there is no alleged crime, when there is no point to even adjudicate from an ethics standpoint whether Franken did anything, how in the world has Chuck Schumer not delivered this exact same message to this guy?
Third, for 30 years, I have withdrawn thousands of dollars in cash from my personal savings account, which I have kept for emergencies and because of the history of my family facing confiscation in Cuba. Now, this may seem old-fashioned, but these were monies drawn from my personal savings account based on the income that I have lawfully derived over those 30 years. I look forward to addressing other issues at trial.
All right, first off, you notice he said facing about his family. Play that again, because this is an important distinction, because apparently his parents did not have their money confiscated. But regardless, even if you are to believe that, like, you know, depression babies who grow up and they're like very frugal and they save because they grew up during the Depression.
Yeah, put the cash under the mattress because it could get taken away. But, like, you know, that does not pass the smell test here.
And let's be also like clear, like, you know, like there are a lot of Jews coming out of the Holocaust, you know, and my family was one of these. I mean, we didn't have anybody direct survivors, but there was a mentality of like, always keep your passport ready. Mm-hmm. That was like one of the things as a kid, like always the passport, everybody has to have a passport. It has to be up to date, have to be ready to go in a moment's notice. But what kind of emergency are you going to be hit with where you're going to need $480,000 in cash?
The ghost of Castro's coming to the United States, still after the Menendez family after all these years.
Also, the family left under Batista.
They did.
Years before Castro. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So they were facing it had they been there. Theoretically. But like, even if he had that, like, neuroses, I'm sorry, the guy's head of the banking committee.
Yeah.
I think he knows that, like, you know, maybe all I need is 200 grand in cash or 150 in cash for that emergency.
How about the Mercedes-Benz and the gold bars?
Well, the gold bars, you know, because he didn't seem to address that.
No.
But the bottom line is, and so right now the count is Fetterman was the first person to come out in the Senate. The entire federal, what do you call that? A group of federal legislatures coming out of New Jersey have called for his resignation. Booker just did it today, like hours ago. Fetterman was the first because he hasn't been in the Senate long enough to actually give a crap about the idea of, like, we must our, you know, fellow senators. But again, Chuck Schumer went and threatened Al Franken for no criminal charges. Let's be clear. There was no indictment, no charges, no accusations that he had done anything criminal by any of the so-called, accusers. And these are federal, and this is a federal indictment with a lot of evidence.
And it's not the first time he has been in trouble for corruption-related offenses. This is the second time in 10 years. We're talking about history today. First sitting U.S. president to go to a picket line. Bob Menendez, right there, is the first sitting United States senator to be charged twice on different counts, not related to one another.
And let's also be clear on what the accusations are here. The accusations are that he's taking bribes essentially to do the bidding of Egypt, of a foreign country. Like, right there should be like a pause. Let's put it this way. If he was a staffer working on the Foreign Relations Committee, the FBI would say, we did a background check, and this guy shouldn't even be allowed in the committee room to hear the hearings.
If it was an Ilhan staffer?
Let alone...
Never mind an Ilhan staffer. Anybody's staffer, they would not get anywhere near the documents that he has access to.
And he is the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, so he is as close to those issues and sensitive information on that front as anybody possibly could be, really, unless you're in the executive branch.
Every day that Chuck Schumer and the members of the Senate think they can get away with not calling for this guy's resignation is a delusion that honestly, like, is as much of a sign of dementia as anything else.
And Bradley made this point before the show. It was a really good one. If the Democrats want to run on how Trump is corrupt and you're unable 100%. To trust him, given the litany of charges against him, every day that he remains in the Senate is cutting against that narrative for 24.
Totally. Majority Report wardrobe coordinator says fled is a poor choice of words. They left in 1953. Again, under Batista. In a moment, we're going to get to the UAW stories. And really, the amazing story, again, is how the media is completely botching that coverage. First, a couple of words from our sponsors. People know this story. For a long time, people were calling for Majority Report merch. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. It's going to be too hard. It's going to be too hard. Going to set up a store. It's going to break all the time. Somebody's going to have to be in charge of it. I'm going to have to deal with this. And we're not going to be able to put up stuff when we come up with ideas quick enough. And it's going to be too hard. I don't want to do it. And I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was my sister. Maybe it was Kyle. Just said, we can just set up a Shopify store. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Well, it turns out Shopify is a commerce platform that is revolutionizing businesses worldwide. Now, it didn't necessarily revolutionize ours, but it made it so easy to do merch that I felt like an idiot for not doing it earlier. It doesn't matter if you're like a garage entrepreneur or if you're about to do some type of IPO or whatever. Shopify is the only tool you need to start, run, and this is a big deal if you're in the business of selling stuff like we do with our merch, and that's your primary, you can grow your business easily. Shopify puts you in control of every sales channel. So it doesn't matter whether you're selling, merch online or whether you're doing it, at a live show when we do those. Shopify has a in-person point of sale system. You're covered whether you're selling, online stuff or both. And once you've reached your audience, Shopify is the internet's best converting checkout to help you turn them from browsers to buyers. There's nothing worse than having to click 5 times and getting messed and then deciding it's not worth it. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Shopify is truly a global force. It powers Allbirds, Rothy's, and millions of other entrepreneurs every size across 170 countries. Plus, Shopify has award-winning help. It's there to support your success every step of the way. This is a possibility powered by Shopify. Honestly, couldn't be easier. Super easy to integrate it to with things like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. And again, like I say, the amazing thing about Shopify is you can start when you're, selling merch or something like this, and it grows with you seamlessly. You got massive companies on this platform, but still it's easy for a small company to use. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/majority. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/majority. Take your business to the next level today. Shopify.com/majority. And our next sponsor is a company I was using well before they started sponsoring with us. And although I will say this also, and I learned from this company that fall, great time to plant. I used to think you had to do it early spring. Fall, better time to plant for a lot of stuff. Of course, I'm talking about fastgrowingtrees.com. And just the fact that I learned this from them is one of the reasons why I love this company. The other reason why I love Fast Growing Trees is that they have thousands of plants and trees that are perfect for your specific climate, your specific location, your specific needs. You need shade tree, you need fruit trees, you need tall grass. I can't remember what they call that. Ornamental bushes or trees. They have it all. They have such a wide selection. And the beauty is, you don't have to drive around to a nursery or, one of those big box stores. They don't have anything good there, and ruin the stuff you get in the back of your car, and also have it dump all out in the back of your car. And the amazing thing about Fast Growing Trees is I don't know if their trees grow faster, but they're bigger when they ship them to you. They can ship trees to you that are like 5, 6 feet tall, and you put them in the ground. Fall's a great time to do this because it doesn't shock the roots. Put them into the ground. They start to get settled. They go dormant, and then in spring, they're off to the races. And I've had fruit trees that I've planted in the fall, and I get fruit in the spring.
Wow.
Yep. Particularly those Korean...
pear trees?
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you've never had a green thumb, they will make you feel like they do. They've got customer support all available, all like texting, DM, email, all of it. Phone calls. Plus, they have a 30-day Alive and Thrive guarantee. You can trust everything's going to be healthy for years to come. Listeners of our show get 15% off your entire order when you go to fastgrowingtrees.com/majority, but only through October 15th. That's 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com/majority, fastgrowingtrees.com/majority. Put those links into the podcast and YouTube thing as always. Also, if you've listened to the show for any significant period of time, you know that I am a famous insomniac. I mean, I'm not famous, but for people who know me, I'm famously insomniac. And I've been using like a whole range of things that have helped me with sleep and helped me get off of, taking drugs to sleep, prescription drugs. But the point is, sleep is incredibly important. And I like to do like a cycle through of stuff. And I found one to add to my repertoire because sleep is so desperately important. Yeah. I mean, both in terms of like longevity, but just in your normal function. Also, you want to keep your weight off. Like, there's no time that I eat more just to keep myself awake. One of the things I have worked into my my regimen, and particularly like when it's getting chillier as it's been as of late, Beam Dream. It is a Beam Dream has a powder that essentially is like a hot chocolate, hot cocoa, but for sleep. Right now, you can get a special discount on Beam Dream's powder. It's their best-selling healthy hot cocoa for sleep. Has no added sugar. It's available in a bunch of different flavors that are delicious. Sea salt caramel, cinnamon cocoa, my favorite, chocolate peanut butter. Honestly, this is something I remember. My kids, when I was a kid, my mom used to make like warm milk for me, but this is like turbocharged, which is actually not the way you want to go to sleep, but
right,
it's not. Yeah. Yes. It has a natural blend of reishi, magnesium, which is a big key, L-theanine, I should say, and melatonin. All of these things help both for absorption of the melatonin, the magnesium, and to help you sleep and stay asleep and wake up refreshed. Clinical study revealed Dream helped 93% of users wake up feeling more refreshed. 93% reported that Dream helped them get a more restful night's sleep. You just mix a Beam Dream into hot water, or do what I do, milk. You stir. You could froth if you were fancy, and enjoy before bedtime. It's great. It is. There's, particularly when there's a little bit of chill in the air, like right around now, feels great. Gets you to bed. You wake up the next morning. You sleep through. It really is great. Apparently Forbes and New York Times are writing about Beam, and it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up. You ready for this? 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/majority. Use the code majority at checkout. That's BEAM.com/majority. Use the code majority for up to 40% off. We'll put a code in our YouTube and podcast descriptions. Okay. Big deal. BFD today. The President of the United States, for the first time ever, is going to go to a picket line and walk it. And, it's here is UAW president, and we said, what was it, on Thursday or Friday of last week, after Sean Fain invited
It was Friday.
Biden, we said on the show on Friday, this is a very good indication that he's going, because they would not have issued the invitation had they not felt that. My guess is they, back channel or directly, they heard that Biden was willing to come, and so they issued the invitation. Here is Sean Fain on the picket line in Center Line, Michigan, Friday. That was the day that they expanded the strikes to 38 other locations, in addition to the 3 existing. And here's Sean Fain on Friday.
Companies chose to put us in this position because they've had to get a contract, and they chose for 7 weeks to screw around and do nothing.
What's going on?
This isn't on the UAW workers. When bad things happen and things are happening, companies, they own it. It's on their shoulders.
So you deny that it's going to hurt the consumers in the long run?
In the long run is the fact that companies have raised prices on vehicles 35% in the last. Because of our wages went up 6%. The CEO pay went up 40%. Billions, the hundreds of billions. They own all this. That's what's hurting the consumer.
Some audio issues there, but that was what was instructive. Was Fain was the reporter asked him essentially, do you care about the economic disruptions? And Fain, you just can't get that guy off message. He immediately responds with just the insane, gross, gratuitous increases in CEO pay versus what the workers have seen, which is basically nothing. And that issue, just to remind people, are the fact that these contracts were renegotiated, and workers took a haircut, a significant one, in the financial collapse in 2007, 2008, when the auto industry was in trouble, and they gave away the core of what provides more livable wages to that workforce, which is cost of living adjustments. The auto industry said, hey, don't worry, we'll get you back once we're out of this dark period. And they reneged on that promise every single step of the way. And that's what informs how they are standing so strong in these instances.
Yep. Play it again so we get the audio clean. Because it really is, this is the type of aggressiveness that I think has like the automakers sort of very much flat-footed, because they just don't have experience with a union leader who is being this aggressive. And look, there's not one thing that's going on in this era. There's a lot of things that are going on that are contributing to this. Sean Fain is not just doing this on his own. It is a function of a more militant membership. It is a function of more militancy from other unions that are creating an environment. It's a function of a society that has a different perspective on union and labor management relationships. People coming out of COVID heighten that, but also, we're still seeing the echoes, I think, of the Occupy movements, and just broadly speaking, we're living in a different era. And each time a union leader does something like this and is able to address things like this, it becomes a sort of a feedback loop.
Companies chose to put us in this position because they've had 8 weeks to get a contract, and they chose for 7 weeks to screw around and do nothing. They got serious in the last week. This isn't on the UAW workers. When bad things happen and things are happening right now, it's all because the companies. They own it. It's on their shoulders.
So you deny that it's going to hurt the consumers in the long run?
What's hurt the consumers in the long run is the fact that companies have raised prices on vehicles 35% in the last 4 years. It's not because of our wages. Our wages went up 6%. The CEO pay went up 40%. Profits have been in the billions, the hundreds of billions. They own all this. That's what's hurting the consumers. Companies chose to put us.
And that was right after he had made the announcement, because you can tell by the camo shirt, unless he's got two of those, on Friday. Here, let's what's amazing about what's going to happen today, I mean, there's two things, right? There's two parts of this story with Biden visiting this picket line. One is that it's the first time a president has visited a picket line in the history of the country, like actively siding with labor. And we know from talking to different labor leaders what difference that makes. Just like at one point there was like positive stuff, I think, out of the White House about what was going on in Bessemer, maybe. And, you had AOC eventually showing up with Amazon strikers, and you've got people grilling Howard Schultz in the Senate. And all of the people that we've had on to discuss their labor organizing have said the same thing. It helps. I mean, how much it helps, it's hard to calculate, but it helps because so much of this is about solidarity and will by the workers to feel like they can defeat management and they can hold out, and management getting afraid that the workers are not about to collapse under the weight of this. And it's a big morale booster to know that the president is in your corner. And but what's amazing is if you look at the reporting about Trump and Biden, post that thing about from the Times. Trump to woo striking union members in Detroit, skipping the second GOP debate. Now, this was a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
What else do we have? Do we have more that show this?
Yeah, you can.
Some more tear sheets of this because
I tweeted one out, Bradley. I'll send it to you. Yeah.
The media is trying to make an equivalence here that you got two guys going out and showing support for union members and workers in Detroit.
Yeah, this was actually from today.
This is from today.
The headline here: Biden, Trump to woo union workers in Michigan as auto strike.
Both of them doing the same thing.
Both
yeah, that's Reuters.
And then this is the third paragraph down. They write, Republican rival Donald Trump, the frontrunner to be his party's 2024 presidential candidate, will address hundreds of workers at a gathering at an auto supplier in a Detroit suburb on Wednesday. The supplier, Drake Enterprises, is a non-union manufacturer, according to a spokesman at the AFL-CIO. The headline says, again, Biden, Trump to woo union workers in Michigan as auto strikes grow.
Now, as auto strikes grow is at least like not as misleading as the Times thing, which had said striking workers.
Yeah.
This is just like auto strikes grow. But you could say that about anything. Sam Seder was on the Majority Report today as auto strikes grow. Now, I think if we did that headline on a YouTube, rightly, there would be a lot of people going like, dude, are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you trying to somehow imply that you're involved in these auto strikes?
Yeah.
And Trump is not wooing union workers whatsoever. There are no union workers there. And in fact, it is clear that at the very least, an organization that is known for promoting right to work policies, in other words, anti-union policies, is using their email list to get people to help with the event.
Yeah.
So not the union workers, the anti-union.
The union busting organization. I mean, we're still those details. That's kind of more rumors. A little. I don't know if it's necessarily been fully confirmed.
I think the union has now
confirmed it.
Confirmed that they have found emails from these people.
Well,
but regardless, we know for an unequivocal fact that there are no union workers there. Right. This has nothing to do with the strikes.
Also, Trump's been criticizing union leadership for
Let's go to this is Trump in 2008.
Yep. Oh, this is a great clip. Yeah, this is him on some fine.
This is him with Neil Cavuto
yeah.
on Fox Business News, I think it was, or maybe it was Fox News at that time that Cavuto was on. Here he is.
thing. It's years and years of deep-seated. And I see it in my own company. Well, my company is a lot newer. Over the years, we have Christmas bonus time, right? And we've done well. Now, I pay somebody a bonus 20 years ago. Then you give them a little more, a little more, a little more. Now it's 20 years later. All of a sudden, I'm saying, I'm paying them too much. I'm paying them too much. I mean, I'm paying some guys much more than I should be paying. You know why? Time. Same thing with the unions. They get a little increase, they get another.
What do your guys
40,
do?
50
You give them
years
a condo, or what do you give them?
No, I just give them bonuses. But I always like to give
But I know
a
it's
little
not
bit
a
more.
hickory cheese log.
No,
I know that.
I'm not even talking about top level people. I'm talking about you go a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. All of a sudden, 20 years is up, and now you're saying, man, that's a lot of money. I'm sitting behind my desk signing these checks.
It, right?
They expect
December rolls around and I think Don's going to be good to me.
It's the same thing with the unions.
That's right.
They get their little 5%. They get another 2%. They get another 3%, 4%. Then all of a sudden they're making more money than the people that own the company.
I mean, that must have been why Trump had those multiple bankruptcies. It was just the union workforce in his companies. They eventually asked for too much, and the company went bankrupt.
If you were to take those words and put them in the mouths of someone not as cartoonishly, vulgar as Donald Trump, but put them in the mouths of someone like Jamie Dimon, or put them in the mouths of someone like, one of those guys from Shark Tank, whatever those dudes' name is.
Yeah, Mr.
Whoever,
Magical
whatever it is.
Fabulous.
Or, Ken Langone. Think about how despicable and... I mean, I'm not saying you don't think it's despicable and evil, but there are a lot of people who want to pretend that Donald Trump is somehow like, because of his aesthetic, because he talks like this. I came from Queens and I talk like this when I want to basically screw over workers.
He's funny, right? Like he's funny to listen to, and that makes it sound less disgusting.
And because whatever it is he's presenting the aesthetic appeals to some cohort of workers. This guy has such disdain for workers, I mean, his own workers. Never mind, union workers, the disdain. They're like children. If you give them a little too much, then they're just going to come back for more and more. There has never been a situation. I mean, it goes without saying, none of these union workers are making even remotely close to what the CEOs
millions
are making.
of dollars.
And to be honest, also, the amazing thing is that 10 years ago that clip was from? 12 years ago? 12 years later, the CEO to worker ratio is just still exponentially off the charts.
I mean, and that was related to the UAW contract renegotiating, right? Renegotiation
in the wake of the
then.
financial crisis in 2008. I mean, so this is a guy who has such incredible disdain for workers, but is somehow given credit.
It's Republican campaigning and people who are crypto Republican campaigners.
It's
They
all
need to
about-
minimize the difference that the fundamental thing is, and everyone wants to get so fixated on voting, is there's one party that has a transactional relationship with unions and there's one party that has an adversarial one, and there are certain people that like to minimize that because it helps talk about
It's all
act like the parties are the same.
It's all aesthetics.
Exactly. And I just want to also say, Alex Press, Luis, and I'm sorry, what's his last name? That labor notes? Felice Leon. Yes. They have been saying for days at this point that Trump's not going into the UAW stuff. There doesn't seem to be any talks about that. We are not hearing that from the UAW. And their literacy about what labor actually is engaging in and their connections with the unions and their reporting is just so much better than these mainstream outlets who do not have any kind of seeming understanding sometimes of the dynamics at play here. And that's why they both sides this kind of issue. They just regurgitated what the Trump campaign was saying, which is we're going to support auto workers in Michigan. And they didn't seem to do their due diligence and ask, hey, UAW leaders, have you heard from the Trump campaign? Is he coming to the picket line?
Right.
And then they embarrass themselves.
Have you explicitly rejected him?
Yes, and there's this sneering mainstream media attitude towards people who are at smaller outlets doing actual reporting on this front. They didn't make that mistake, and the Times and Reuters and whoever should probably think a little bit more critically about their coverage on this front, that they took Trump's claims at face value.
We should also say, where credit's due, the AP also got it wrong, even in their piece today. Quote, instead of participating in the second Republican primary debate on Wednesday, Trump will head to Michigan to meet with striking auto workers, seeking to capitalize on discontent over the state of the economy and anger. I mean, so that's just a lie. And then down the piece, yet the UAW strike, which expanded in 20 states last week, remains a dilemma for the Biden administration. Will you pull up this article? Since part of the workers' grievances include concerns about a broader transition to electric vehicles. Now, that is true. There is a concern that the electric vehicles won't be unionized, but that's why Biden's getting on the picket line so that the UAW can unionize these manufacturing plants. And here is for instance, here is a quote, and I heard this, I listened to the AP News in the morning. Could you pop this up, Bradley? Here's a quote from Carolyn Nippa, this is a piece from the AP piece. Carolyn Nippa, do we have this? Carolyn Nippa, who was walking the picket line Monday at the GM Parts Warehouse in Van Buren Township, Michigan, was ambivalent about the president's advocacy for electric vehicles, even as she said Biden was a better president than Trump for workers. She said it was great that we have a president who wants to support local unions and the working class. I know it's the future. It's the future of the car industry, Nippa said. I'm hoping it doesn't affect our jobs. So it's like even the characterization of a supporter here is put in like, this could create jeopardy for a Joe Biden. Keep going down. Still other picketers remained more skeptical about Biden's visit Tuesday. Come down. Here it is. Dave Ellis, right there, who stocks parts at the distribution center, said he's happy Biden wants to show people he's behind the middle class, but he said the visit is just about getting more votes. I don't necessarily believe that it's really about us, said Ellis. Here's the point. I don't care if in Joe Biden's secret lair, he is in is sitting there going like, I hate unions. Mm-hmm. They disgust me. I hate workers. They all disgust me. I've got to pretend to be Union Joe and Amtrak Joe, and I hate trains too, secretly. It doesn't matter. None of that matters.
The point is he has to show that he cares.
The point is that if he believes the reason why he's president and the reason why he can be president again is because he must do things for unions. And this is a material benefit for unions. Make no doubt about it. If he feels that he needs to do that, that's all that matters.
That's what we're celebrating here.
We don't care.
Exactly.
We're not litigating what's in Biden's heart. Yeah. I mean, and that's goo goo gaga.
And if he feels that he needs to do it for votes, that's the guy who you want to vote for if those are aligned with your interests. Yep. Because there's another guy who feels that to get his votes, he needs to screw over the union.
Yeah.
And that's the guy you don't want to vote for because of his incentive structure. That's it. This isn't like you're not choosing someone you're going to be married to.
It is also, to strike an optimistic tone here as well, the fact that he does feel he needs to respond in this manner is a market shift in Democratic Party consensus, like a significant one.
Yeah, I think it's probably one that's been coming. I think even Obama saying the comfortable shoes line was probably a sign that they
knew where the direction was headed.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
But even Obama staffed his cabinet with people that Citigroup recommended to him, and I don't have confirmation on this, but I've read enough to know that I think the Biden team, when he was vice president, didn't love some of the more elitist Harvard type people that were kind of pushing pro austerity stuff with Biden has been in favor of that stuff before, but those are not the kind of people that Biden has been drawn to in his political career, like the Citigroup.
Well, they were more Clintonites, I think, and now it probably had more to do with that than anything else.
But it's a good thing, though, that Biden has kind of exorcised some of those folks from his cabinet, and you can see the results.
He's always been a cipher, and he has a better sense of where the Democratic Party is today. And the fact is that you still have whatever the breakdown is, 50-50, 60-40, 40-60, 70-30, whatever it is, the party has moved more to the left. And that same guy, Ellis, I don't necessarily believe that it's really about us, said Ellis, who argued that Trump would be a better president for the middle class than Biden.
Middle class, huh?
Because Trump is a businessman.
Yeah. See ya, bro.
And now here's the it's not even clear that Dave Ellis is a member of the union. Maybe he is. He starts I guess
some more education in the union.
Yeah, it's unclear, but maybe he is. But the point is, yeah, this is a failure by the media, by the union in this instance, by others to sort of educate, like, understand Donald Trump. We just played a clip of him being a businessman from 2009, 8. If you give a little bit too much to the workers, they're going to expect more.
But he's consistent in that too. He was doing that through the campaign. He'll say stuff that like the media is surprised, like, "Ooh, look at that coming out of Republican mouth." But like when you ask him about like the labor market or whatever, he's always like, "Yeah, they're taking too much. We need to get that down."
Too much.
Also, like, you know, it just reminds me of a Alexander Coburn tweet, or not tweet, a quote.
Yeah.
The things we used to call tweets.
Yeah.
I've never taken the view that the mainstream press in the U.S. is to be redeemed. The rhetorical pose is always that the New York Times could be doing a better job, and so could the Washington Post, and then we would have a responsible press. My view is that the official corporate press is there to do a bad job. That's its function, and nobody should be surprised. And that's the thing with like these mainstream presses equivocating like the outreach between Biden and Trump is do you just have dumb interns working there that don't know, like, you know, haven't been out of the
no,
or are you anti-union?
No, I think it's actually like it's a little bit of both,
right?
Because they fire their labor reporters,
yeah,
and they give their general political reporters the beat, and they don't know. They don't have any contacts in the union. They don't care. They just take the campaign's word as to what they're doing.
Horse race
and
stuff.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so they don't have a reporter. I don't think there's a labor reporter at the Times anymore.
Yeah.
And so they don't have anybody to contact and say, "Hey, what's the deal with this?"
Or so like when Biden goes to the picket line versus Trump truthing all caps things and saying they're going to send your jobs to China. There's like no impulse to make a material distinction between the realities of what those two, like the implementation of those two policies would mean for workers or for union workers. Because one is just complete nonsense and the other one is actually would be beneficial. And you have to make that clear in your reporting. I don't understand that at all. But
because they don't. There's this institutional allergy to the labor movement.
Yeah.
Hot labor doll says, "Don't forget Ben Rhodes' quote about lying, misleading journalists just out of college who don't know anything." Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that too.
Also, I just want to correct. I think Stephen Greenhouse is the New York Times labor reporter.
No,
there's Noam Schreiber.
He's not there anymore? No.
Greenhouse has been gone for years.
Well, then I am. He's former, yeah. Oh.
Noam Schreiber is the reporter who covers workers in the workplace. Right
and
now.
I'm correct my correction.
As opposed to labor reporter, right? Like it's the
workplace.
It's the workplace now. Like, you know, the beat's not exactly the same. It's more of
it's more objective now, and that's an improvement.
Which is literally when the House changed hands from Democrat to Republican. I'll double check this, but I literally think they changed it from the House Education and Labor Committee to the House Education and Workforce Committee. So like that's the the little language game there.
Just a couple other quick notes of important stories in the news. the Supreme Court, and there was reason to believe that this wouldn't happen. I think we talked about a story the other day, and there's still reason to believe that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is in jeopardy because Kavanaugh is supposedly back-channel signaled through Leonard Leo that there's opportunity to attack the provision of the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, which basically says that districts in areas where you have a certain percentage of minority voters, there needs to be districts that have a majority of minority voters so that there is there's proper representation. It is a sort of ham-fisted way of making sure that a white majority does not redistrict in such a way that creates a barrier to non-white representation. So, for instance, in Alabama, you have almost 30% of the state is black. But somehow, out of 7 congressional districts, there's only a majority of black people in 1.
Huh.
And, it's just clear, obvious gerrymandering, right? I mean, you're talking about there's almost their electoral strength is cut in half, essentially. And Alabama Republicans made a map, went to the Supreme Court after going through the circuit court. And the Supreme Court said, we have a thing called the Voting Rights Act. We have really eviscerated as much as we possibly can, made it as...
While still maintaining our kind of veneer of impartiality. So we can't go that far, Alabama. We're trying.
The late, great Antonin Scalia had basically said that the only reason why the Voting Rights Act had been reauthorized years before, this is in 2013, when they were eviscerating Section 5, I think it was because senators were too afraid of being considered racist. Racism is basically all but over. We don't have to worry about this. They got rid of the pre-clearance provision where certain states that had a history in certain districts, also in New York actually had a couple of districts as well, New York State, a history of racial discrimination when it comes to voting, had to get permission from the Department of Justice to change their voting laws, as opposed to the opposite where they change it and then the DOJ has to come after them. They've weakened that ability of the DOJ as well. In this one instance, they said to Alabama Republicans, no, you have 30% almost black population. You need to have 2 districts out of your 7 to reflect their strength in your state. And Republicans said, okay. They went back home and they said, actually, we changed our mind. We're going to just present another map with just 1 district that is a so-called, a majority black district. And it went up the chain again. Federal court said, no, you've already been instructed by the Supreme Court. They brought it to the Supreme Court. And today, I guess this morning, this is the second time in 3 months, like I say, the Supreme Court rejected Alabama Republicans' new map. I think it was more of like a shadow docket. There was no noted dissenting votes. The court did not explain its reasoning. I mean, it's fairly obvious.
They don't need to explain that.
We go see our last ruling 3 months ago.
And by the way, that last ruling was 5-4. Roberts joined the 3 liberals, and then Kavanaugh did and wrote a concurrence and basically said, don't worry, Republican states. This is not necessarily a full precedent for Section 2 of the VRA. We will look at this more on a case-by-case basis. Like, he gave other Republican states a roadmap to continue to discriminate. They just said this was so egregious. Alabama has the 5th largest black population in the country, and you have 1 majority black district. And the thing that is just what I find slightly entertaining about the story, too, is the court is as far right wing as it can be, really. But the thing that they will not stand for is having their authority as high priests of the United States be defied in this manner. They are ruling right in this instance, but they're like they're incredibly ideological, but they're not going to stand for their authority being completely challenged in this way by an overeager far-right state legislature.
There's two things. They can't afford to have their decisions be completely flagrantly ignored. But also, this is so egregious that they cannot, that it's too ostentatious. They need something that's a little bit like, instead of like 30%, yes. Let's give us an edge case, not one that goes way over the line, please. That's what they're looking for. This is, and we've talked about this many times on this program. They build their way bit by bit to tearing down these things. And this is the last vestige of the Voting Rights Act that they're going to go after, I think, and we'll see. Hegemony Cricket says, I agree with the take on Menendez, but should have to resign just due to, as of right now, just allegations. Well, let's put it this way. There is no rule about whether you should have to resign. But this is about a political party, and there is a leader of this political party in this institution. And Al Franken made the decision. Like I say, there were two components to that decision. One is didn't want to be responsible for allowing Roy Moore, who was a serial groomer of children.
A mall risk, literally.
Yes. Didn't want to help Roy Moore defeat Doug Jones. But the other thing is that the Senate Majority Leader basically said, you're a political liability to us. We have the ability to replace you with a Democrat. Because I'm sure if Franken came from a state where there wasn't a Democratic governor, it would have been a different calculation for Schumer. We have the ability to replace you with a Democrat. There's no rule that says you have to resign. But if you don't, I'm going to make living hell for you. Should Chuck Schumer have done that? People can argue one way or another in terms of the accusations. But there is absolutely no debate on whether these are more serious allegations because there's criminal charges involved, whether Menendez's record in this instance is in favor of him. Because remember, he wasn't vindicated in the last. It was a hung jury. And the law here is been so bastardized by the Supreme Court when it comes to bribery. And the sensitivity of where he's placed on these committees and the nature of the charges. Exactly. There's just no comparison. So should he have to resign? I think he should resign, but there is no law or rule that says he should resign. But the real question is, should Senate Democrats do everything in their power to make his life miserable if he stays in the Senate? And the answer is 100% unequivocal yes.
It's a liability for all of them. It's a liability for all of them. So F Senate congeniality. I mean, I could get a tattoo of that, and I would see that phrase too little, to be honest with you. But it's honestly existential too, because Menendez is up for re-election in 2024. Some important elections happening in 2024, including potentially Donald Trump versus Biden and our democracy being at stake. So maybe time to just cash in. Hope you can hang on to some of those gold bars, buddy, before maybe you go to jail.
Well, I think from his perspective, he wants to stay as senator for the exact same reason why Donald Trump is so fervently running for president. This is the best defense in terms of getting out of jail. In his mind, anyways.
And that's what makes it an even larger political liability for the Democrats.
Chuck Schumer and the Senate re-election committee should announce tomorrow, we are supporting his challenger. We don't know who that challenger is yet.
Andy Kim.
Maybe it's Andy Kim. We are going to support the challenger, period, end of story. If no one runs, we will support a writing candidate. I mean, that's what they should come out with.
And by the way, Menendez had been primaried by somebody who was more progressive and who had no funding. I'm forgetting,
literally didn't have a website.
2018. I'm forgetting the name of this. Didn't have a website.
She's like there's no footprint of her, and she got 38% of the vote without having literally a website or any sort of. She didn't even. If I'm not mistaken, she didn't file an FEC like a public expenditure report.
Yeah, that's the appetite in New Jersey.
You could put a blank space against Bob Menendez and get at least 40% against him.
I mean, and that's just the freaking Senate and their stupid like pageantry has zero connection to how actual people feel. Like, but Bradley and I are both from New Jersey, and I have had constant conversations with people being like, that guy's a crook, right? I mean, it's well known. Just get him out. There's no downside. Phil Murphy's a Democratic governor. He'll appoint somebody. Boom. Oh, we're here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to go live right now to Joe Biden on the picket line.
We can go back even maybe a little bit.
No, I want to take him live.
I marched a lot of UAW picket lines when I was a senator since 1973, but I tell you what, first time I've ever done it as a president. Folks, look, one thing is real simple, and to be very brief. The fact of the matter is that you guys, the UAW, you saved the automobile industry back in 2008 and before. Made a lot of sacrifices. Gave up a lot, and the companies were in trouble. But now they're doing incredibly well. And guess what? You should be doing incredibly well too. The simple proposition. Stick with it, because you deserve the significant raise you need and other benefits. Let's get it! Let's get back who we lost, okay? We say them, it's about time them to step up for us. Thank you. Now, there's a guy I know you don't know here, but I brought him along anyway. Sean Payne, you're president.
All right, good afternoon, UAW family.
Thank you.
I want to thank Local 174, home of Walter Reuther. Thank this local leadership and Director Laura Dickerson. And the big three members, because you're all the reason we're here. This is all about the membership. You know, this site, Willow Run, it holds a historic place in the history of our union and our country. You know, this was part of the arsenal of democracy during World War II. It's where they built the B-24 Liberator bomber. You know, that bomber, they built one of those per hour when they were at their peak. It's what helped us win the war. So today, 80 years later, we find ourselves here again with the arsenal of democracy. It's a different kind of arsenal of democracy, and it's a different kind of war we're fighting. Today, the enemy isn't some foreign country miles away. It's right here in our own area. It's corporate greed. And the weapon we produce to fight that enemy is the liberators, the true liberators. It's the working class people, all of you working your butts off on those lines to deliver great product for our companies.
That's right.
That's how we're going to defeat these people. That's how we're going to defeat corporate greed, is by standing together. You know, this is a historic moment. The first time in our country's history that a sitting USA president has came out and stood on the picket line. Our president has chose to stand up with workers in our fight for economic and social justice.
Thank you.
It's a historic day and a historic moment in time. You know, just as today, you know, it's about the auto workers who are part of the fabric of the working class of this country. We're the people that make the world run. It's not the billionaire class, not the elite few. It's the working class of the billions of people who have been left behind. That's what this battle's about, changing that. You know what's going to move this? It's not some executive that owns our future. It's us. It's working class people from all walks of life. You know, it's what we decide to do together that's going to change it. It's going to shape the future of this earth and for future generations. And that's the economic reality that corporate executives don't want us to recognize. Yeah. I see these CEOs try to justify a system where they take all the profit and the workers are left to fight for the scraps and live paycheck to paycheck. That's got to end. Yeah. They say they deserve all the profit because they say they're different. You know what? They are different. They have different degrees. They have different responsibilities. They have different titles, different positions. You know what? I agree, though. They're different. Let's talk about some of that. These CEOs sit in their offices. They sit in meetings and they make decisions. But we make the product. They think they own the world, but we make it run. The CEOs think the future belongs to them. Today belongs to the auto workers and the working class. And the difference between them and us, it's just as our theme song, Solidarity Forever, says. Without our brain and muscle, not a single wheel would turn. That's what's different about working class people. Whether we're building cars or trucks or running parts distribution centers, whether we're writing movies or performing TV shows, whether we're making coffee at Starbucks, whether it's nursing people back to health, whether it's educating students from preschool to college, we do the heavy lifting. We do the real work. Not the CEO, not the executive. And though we don't know it, that's what power is. We have the power. The world is of our making. The economy is of our making. This industry is of our making. And as we've shown, when we withhold our labor, we can unmake it. And as we're going to continue to show, when we win this fight with the big three, we're going to remake it. In this union, the members are the highest authority. In this country, the people are the highest authority. And so today, I just want to take a moment to stand with all of you, with our president, and say thank you to the president. Thank you, Mr. President, for coming. Thank you for coming to stand up with us in our generation's defining moments. And we know the president will do right by the working class. And when we do right by the working class, you can leave the rest of us because we're going to take care of this business. So thank you for coming out. Thank you for being a part of this fight. And let's get back to winning solidarity for all of our members and economic and social justice for all of our members.
Heard me say it many times. Wall Street didn't build the country, the middle class built the country. Unions built the middle class. That's a fact. So let's keep going. You deserve what you've earned, and you've earned a hell of a lot more than you're getting paid now. Thank you very
There he goes.
I mean,
he needed that second one because he was not doing like the megaphone wasn't really working for him that well the first time, so he got the last.
I'll tell you what's amazing about this. I mean, first off, there's a couple of things. Obviously, the Washington Post feed that we've been using here was hoping for Biden to trip and fall, and so they didn't keep the camera on Sean Fain as he was speaking. However, I will say this, and this is part of like the material value of having a president go to the picket line. Never mind the fact that it was the first time this has ever happened.
Yeah.
The number of Americans who will have heard Sean Fain's speech in its entirety to these workers, the number of Americans who are aware of the name Sean Fain, the number of workers who are aware of just like everything he said, which was, it was largely like sort of like general stuff, has just grown exponentially. And
bully pulpit.
And the, this is why you have politicians, why you have celebrities come to your events and this and that, because it expands the audience. And Sean Fain knew it. And he was talking about not just the UAW's fight against car companies, but he was talking about like Starbucks. He was talking about the writers. He was talking about teachers. He's talking about working class people all around. Biden went to the side, and it's quite clear, and we'll hear some story like he didn't know where he was and what not. This is a guy who was deferring to Sean Fain.
I love that.
And, the idea that he went back in and say like one more remark at the end there was also, and we can get rid of this now, was the idea that he could say one more remark and just sort of putting a button on it. It's a big deal. I want to take another stab at it.
It is a big deal, and I'm a softie, so I'm like seeing him standing there
smiling.
I was like, it's emotional. Like it's nice to see that the fact that the Democratic Party, at the very least, is approaching something respectable that we're able to speak about in a positive way in terms of just like they have shifted, and they see the fact that they see this as an electoral win for them or something that they should be doing for their own self-interested purposes it means that the labor power in this country is growing and like it's hot labor summer, but the evidence is now getting even stronger.
I also just want to say I love Fain uses working class, and it's an interesting contrast.
Biden
why
says
like
middle class.
Biden says middle class.
Middle class. It's
well, and part of that is like him just like entering into the the politics when he did.
Yeah,
there's just that was what the the middle class was all you heard about in politics for decades.
Yeah.
Dude Guy Powell says MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News carried the whole thing live. I mean, so you have all these people hearing from the president of a union. Like when, like an entire, 3-minute speech. When has that happened?
Not in my lifetime.
When was the last time you saw cable news carry a 3-minute speech by a union leader in a completely non-critical fashion? Just it hasn't. And we're getting, and like, there is no doubt, like we're getting some, where was I? There was an IM here that I wanted to read just as an example of like what you're going to hear and what is, I think, sort of like couldn't be more irrelevant. Jazz Massoud said Biden looked like he was trying really hard not to forget his part of the speech and wasn't really listening to Mr. Fain. He also looked extremely uncomfortable. I mean, first off,
looks.
Yeah.
Like, I get news for you. I'm 56. I will be 57 soon. I am always uncomfortable. The idea that like somebody's like pushing 80 looks comfortable, I don't see how that's possible.
Yeah,
for
does
the most
Bernie
part.
look comfortable wherever he's at?
But and certainly like, the idea of like, was he going to fall? Like, I'm worried about that too. I don't care. Like, I don't care if Joe Biden needs to be like, has some type of like ectoskeleton that they build for him that somebody is operating to make him walk, if he's going to show up at a union and make it possible for Sean Fain to have 3, 4, or 5, I don't know how long that speech was, uninterrupted minutes to deliver his message on cable news. I don't care, if they have to, inject into Biden like that stuff that, keeps you tired, that foam that you pour into your tires so that it stays stiff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what it is. It doesn't make a difference to me whatsoever. I honestly don't care whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you can hold two ideas at the same time, which is one, like, I hope he doesn't fall over. It looks like he might fall over. And I don't care.
He's the first president at a union picket line,
Exactly.
a striking picket line. He can look however he wants.
You are not electing Joe Biden when you vote. You are electing the 40,000 people who will come into government at that time. You are electing the general counsel of the National Labor Relations Bureau. You are board. You are electing the FTC.
Lena Khan, who's just breaking news, they are officially suing Amazon.
You are electing all of the advisors, all of the people in labor
Jennifer
who said,
Abruzzo,
who said to Biden, you need to go for whatever reason. We have determined that it's in your best interest and our best interest for you to go to that picket line and give Sean Fain 4 or 5 minutes of unencumbered coverage live on at least 3 network cable news outlets. That's what you're voting for. Not for whether, Joe Biden has, dentures or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You can make a case that may matter to some other voters, essentially, but it's our job to emphasize the other things that are more important.
We'll talk more about the potential for a government shutdown tomorrow, because there's going to be a potential for a government shutdown is not going away. The Senate's is putting together a very short-term continuing resolution, and their idea is that the House will vote on an authorization to reauthorize the FAA because it is an important integral part. Everybody doesn't want, you don't want even if you're a Republican lunatic, you don't want everybody blaming you that there's no airplanes flying because that's all your friends.
Oh, yeah.
And then that bill gets to the Senate, and the Senate attaches a continuing resolution onto the FAA bill. They put it together, and then it goes back to the House. And that seems to be what the plan is. Who knows?
But what happens if McCarthy brings that bill to the floor? Is he going to lose his gavel? I don't give a shit. Actually, I would welcome it.
That's the question. The bill would pass because you'd get Democrats. In the House voting for it.
And that even would be a potential death knell for McCarthy.
Well, that's what she's saying. Just the act of bringing it to the floor would be
any sort of overture to Democrats.
Yes.
But if he wants to appeal to the nihilist wing, he won't bring the continuing resolution to the floor. But I don't know if that's based on.
But then they're going to be blamed for grounding all the planes in addition to shutting down the government. And when they start getting like, oh, wait, my buddies can't fly, that's when it's a problem.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll talk more about this tomorrow and, of course, the coming days. We got to head to the fun half. Folks, it is your support that makes this show possible. If you have the means for this program, somebody like there is a piece I just read about I'm trying to think what it was in Slate, maybe, about the long tail. That the end of the Netflix DVD shipments I read that too. They have found that the more offerings that you offer people, the less they actually end up using in terms of movies. And so Netflix found that it was more profitable for them to have less movies on their streaming site than actually even offering all of these thousands of things on for their DVDs.
The DVD era was nice
because you would have a lot more opportunity to get stuff that you wanted.
Yeah.
But they found that just like the more choices you have, the more you diminish. And that has always been, and I've been told this for, and now there's research that I think that supports this. I have been told for 10 years, 13 years now, that doing 5 days a week inhibits our audience and our membership because there's just too much show to listen to.
Absolutely, it does.
But I like that model of if someone has an interest in this narrow topic, they can go in and find that maybe even the course of a month, you can see an interview that we would do that we wouldn't otherwise do because we're doing 5 days a week. Or we'll cover a story that we wouldn't otherwise do because we're doing 5 days a week. But to do that, it hurts our membership numbers. That's just a fact. So if you're somebody who listens to the show 1 day a week or 2 days a week, and you can afford to support us, support us. You can do that by going to jointhemajorityreport.com. When you do, you not only get the free half free of commercials, but you get the fun half if you want it. You don't have to. You can IM the show if you want to. You don't have to, but you can support the show. Also, don't forget justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, tea, or chocolate. Use the coupon code majority, get 10% off from our friends at Just Coffee in Madison, Wisconsin. Emma, what's happening on ESPN?
We gave a real thorough breakdown of the week 3 in the NFL, the nearly record-breaking performance by the Miami Dolphins, certainly record-breaking for their franchise, the Bears in shambles, CJ Stroud, me taking a victory lap on him, thinking he was the best quarterback in the draft. Clearly seems to be so far. YouTube.com/ESPN show.
Hold on, we got some breaking news. Ghost Dog 99 just started a hype train on Twitch by gifting 10 subscriptions. We are at a level 5 hype train.
Whoosh.
Poggers.
Wow, we must have got a raid. Twitch chat, did we get a raid? We're at 773 viewers. Wow.
Whoa. That is a breaking news. We stand by in this space for more information.
We will keep abreast this story.
Matt, what's happening on Left Reckoning?
Jacob from Valley Labor Report on to talk about good old Union Joe being on the picket line and some other stuff in the postgame. Patreon.com/Left Reckoning.
Again, FTC and 17 states bring a lawsuit against Amazon. That's a big deal. So we will be talking about that in the coming days. And Georgia from Belgium says, the length of the show absolutely does not inhibit me. Please keep making ridiculously long shows. I don't think there's another show that does 15 hours a week.
No, yeah. I mean, the math is very easy because there's certain cohort of people who like on Tuesday they realize I haven't heard Monday yet, but I'm just going to listen to Tuesdays. Whereas like Steven Crowder, for instance, he does one show a week. People the entire time watch the VOD of that show. Whereas like a lot of people won't go watch the VODs of every show unless they watch it like the day of.
No way. All right, we're going to take a break and head into the fun half. I'm getting another update on the level. Oh my God.
It's going crazy right now.
According to our Twitch observers, sub-gifting has gone wild.
On the ground over at Twitch.
Did we add a caboose to the train?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, subscribers are just skyrocketing up right now. I don't know what's going on.
All right, well,
Music is life. Just give me 5.
It's just in the marketplace of ideas. Our
Ghost Dog 69 giving out 10 community subs.
Whoa. All right. We Workers Co-op Work says, yeah, keep up the long shows. I'm a union laborer in a very boring job. I listen to Left podcasts all day long. All right, folks.
Matt, did you do say Left Reckoning?
I did, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
See you on the fun half. best is best. Jamie and I may have a disagreement.
Yeah, you can't just say whatever you want about people just because you're rich.
I have an absolute right to mock them on YouTube.
He's up there buggy whipping like he's the boss.
I am not your employer.
You know, I'm tired of the negativity.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. You're nervous? You're a little bit upset? You're riled up?
Yeah, maybe you should rethink your defense of that, you fucking idiots.
We're just going to get rid of you.
All right.
But dude, you want to smoke this joint?
Yes.
Do you feel like you are a dinosaur?
Some good shit.
Exactly. I'm happy now.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win.
Oh, hell yeah.
Now listen to me. 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 847-906-501-457. 2, 38, 56, 27. 1/2. 5 eighths. 3.9 billion.
Wow.
He's the ultimate math nerd.
Don't you see?
Why don't you get a real job instead of spewing vitriol and hatred, you left-wing Limbaugh?
Everybody's taking their dumb juice today.
Come on, Sammy.
Dance, dance, dance.
Rand Paul.
I had my first post-coital scene with a woman. I'm hoping to add more moves to my repertoire. All I have is the dip and the swirl.
Fine, we can double dip.
Yes, this is a perfect moment.